Hello, and welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I am Robert Haynes, and I will be your host, your guide into the world of TSM. Welcome back, everybody. Very quick announcements, nothing really major this week. Just quick apology for last week's delay. I know getting it out on Saturday wasn't ideal, especially for those of you who were possibly traveling on Thursday. You might have been hoping to have a nice 30-minute plus reprieve from your families for the holidays. Here in the United States, it was Thanksgiving. So yeah, had some issues, splicing some things in. I had some audio issues with Benjamin. Luckily, we were still able to get most of it, I believe. And then, everything happened with Sword Art, on Thanksgiving Day. So I had to re-record some stuff. And yeah, it took a second. So, and the software I was using just kept uploading corrupted files. So then I had to redo everything, basically, and resplice it all together like 4 or 5 times. Then it took me a second to get it on Reddit. Obviously wanted to make sure that I'm following the rules. I don't want to just spam my stuff there. I like being a part of the TSM Reddit community. I actually think it's a really good one in general, which is surprising considering it is Reddit. But hey, TSM fans are generally respectable and nice people, so I like that. Hopefully we're not going to have any news break during the recording this time. I doubt it, but it's possible. And then the last thing is, as a reminder, I am always looking to have fan guest spots similar to Benjamin's. If you have something that you're doing regarding TSM and you want to talk about it, let me know. If you just have thoughts or comments on either what I've been talking about or something that's going on with TSM, let me know. I already have a couple guests lined up for when the season begins, but I'm still always looking for some stuff, to work on during the off season. I don't think off season content's going to be too much of an issue for me personally, but I still want to make sure that I am giving this to you guys. Also, I want to talk real quickly about the length of the podcast as well. Do you guys like this length? Do you want it to be shorter? Do you want it to be longer? Do you guys want more than one episode a week? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I want to improve this. I want to make this as great for TSM fans like myself as possible. I want to talk TSM. That's the literal, branding right now of the show. So, yeah. With that, let's head into topic numero uno. And one that we've been talking about basically since this show started is the TSM roster, right? We've had so many different things happen. We've had so many crazy things. Huni was confirmed since the last episode as TSM either traded for him or bought him out. I don't know exactly the details of it, but he is now a part of TSM. And Doublelift officially retired, as we talked about last episode, which it looks like it's pointing to Lost. All signs, I should say, are pointing to Lost. I don't really know why they're waiting so long to announce him, but they are. Maybe they're trying to talk Doublelift out of retirement. I guess there's still a chance for that. I wouldn't totally put it past them or him, but hopefully it's Lost's time. Not that I wouldn't want to see Doublelift. You guys heard about how much I love him last time. But yeah, so I don't want to spend an insane amount of time, going over all of this stuff. But I do want to kind of give my final thoughts now that we're almost assured who the 5-man roster is. So as a quick rundown again, in case if you've been living under a rock or you're just getting into TSM, Huni in the top lane, Spica, your starting jungler, taking over the mid lane for Bjergsen, Power of Evil. Taking over the bot lane / AD carry spot. Lost. And coming in off of a World's Final appearance. Sword Art. Sorry, I wanted to kind of do that in like an announcer voice. I used to broadcast baseball, basketball, and football games at my alma mater, Miami University. In case if there are any Miami University esports people listening, shout out. I believe that there's also a former player / coach for Miami who is currently on the TSM coaching staff, or at least was. I don't know exactly where he's at now, but just because I haven't done an announcement. He was with them last year. I don't know if he's staying this year or not. But anywho, roster for TSM. My thoughts are that this is a solid team. Truthfully, it is. Huni seems to be really motivated. And, after watching the video, and I was somebody who was a little bit off the Huni train. I wasn't against bringing on Huni, especially when I looked at all the other potential options. But I wasn't the biggest fan of him, and it's because of things like this. So, last year he played in 8 games for Evil Geniuses during the summer. I'm looking at specifically his summer stats. And Kumo came in and, did that. He had one of the worst KDAs. Only Kumo, Ruin, Alorum, and Soaz had worse KDAs than Huni. Viper was pretty bad too. He just played in more games, so I think if Huni would have played more games, he probably would have beat out Viper, and potentially even Hanser, but I don't know. There are some pretty good statistics. Again, I'm using, by the way, I like to use Oracle's Elixir. Tim is outstanding. He is really building a name and a brand for himself. And if you don't use Oracle's Elixir for your LCS stats, not a sponsor, but I would highly suggest you go check him out and this website. It is, if not the best, it's one of the best out there. But yeah, so Huni, one of the more interesting statistics in his 8 games was his kill participation. And this is something that is kind of important, especially when you kind of combine it with some of these other things. His kill share percentage was one of the highest in the LCS, right next to some days when he played. Along with his kill participation. And this as a reminder, this is with his KDA being one of the worst. All right? So, and there's a big caveat to that. So we'll go into this here in a second. His death percentage, right? Average share of the team's deaths was 22.4%. Broken Blades was 22.3. Some days is 12.6. So some days is obviously the worst, or the best, excuse me. Hanser, 23.4. Solo, 25% of his team's deaths. Licorice, 27. Impact, 33.6. Now, you can look at that as you will. It either means the team's dying a lot or certain players dying a lot, but it's still, worth taking a look at. Okay, then we go to First Blood percentage. Licorice and Broken Blade tied in first at 44%. Huni in third at 38%. Okay. Now, his goal differentials, I'm not just going to look at his good. I'm going to look at his bad, like I said, with his KDA and stuff, too. His goal differentials were not ideal. He was pretty middle of the road / average in terms of CSD. And his average CS per minute was was tied basically for the middle. But here's where some more interesting things come. Damage percent from the team when he played. He did 27% of his team's damage. Licorice, 25.4. Someday, 25.3. Hanser, 23.8%. Then you look at the gold share, and Huni's near the top in that too. So what I'm trying to say is, when he was playing with Evil Geniuses last year, sure, was his KDA the best? No. Was that team the best? No. But was Huni having an impact for his team in a major way, especially when, sure, the jungle proximity, I don't have the stats on that. I'm sure it was, pretty nicely towards him. I think that they played that way. I think they kind of left Jizuke and Bang to do their own thing. But so did TSM, with Broken Blade, especially in the summer. And, his kill participation was 61%, where Huni's was 70, almost 71%. And sure, with more games, maybe that wouldn't be the case. But the fact that he wasn't one of the main sources of death for his team, the fact that he was participating in a lot of the kills, the fact that he was getting first blood so often, and the fact that he was taking up the majority of his team's damage. Remember, this was, with a team, I'm sorry, it was Golden Glue who was in the mid lane when Huni was there. Apologies. But either way, the point is that Huni actually may have been better, at least statistically, than we thought. Now, he's got to work on his solo laning still. There's no doubt about that. He still has to take less risks, right? I mean, there's not a better way to say it than that. But when compared to other top laners, he wasn't too bad. I want you guys to understand this. I'm going to run through these statistics again. We're going to take out assists, all right? We're going to take out assists because they do help kill participation and everything else. But just kills and deaths, okay? And these are not the all-telling stats. But here's the difference between players' kills and deaths. -15 for Ruin, which means, 15 more deaths per kills. Hanser, -10, 37 kills to 47 deaths. Impact, -7, 40 to 47. Licorice was positive, +12, 56 to 44. Solo, -1, 43 to 44. Broken Blade, -5, 34 to 39. Someday, +22. Right now, is Huni a top 3 top laner? No. Is he probably going to be a top 5? Especially with no Hanser, no Solo, no Broken Blade. Yeah, that's pretty likely. And he's a former world champion. And I know that that's overplayed, whatever. You still have to be good to win a freaking world championship, guys. I don't care what you say. Everybody's all hyped up on Sword Art, right? Which you should be. But everybody's hyped up on Sword Art, and he didn't even win. And he actually looked kind of not great in some of their games during Worlds. He didn't win, guys. He finished second, and we're still hyped. We're paying that man more than anybody else in the LCS. All I'm saying is, and I know I'm pretty sure contradicting myself from previous episodes. Let's just give Huni a chance and see what happens. If they really don't like it, go out and sign Hanser during the middle of the season. Just do it. And we'll see who their top laner is for Academy. We don't really know that yet. We only know one player for Academy. We'll go into that in a little bit. But yeah, just keep your expectations wherever you want them to be. But understand that Huni might be better than we thought. And he seems extremely motivated to get this stuff done. So, yeah, that's my spiel on Huni. I guess this is technically the Huni part of the episode. But going into the rest of it, I think Speak is going to be great. I'm really not worried about him. I think I think there's a really good chance that, he could be a top 3 jungler maybe. He's going to be spicy. He's somebody who may not, I think his playoffs and his Worlds performances are what really helped him. We'll go into a much deeper dive into Spica later this offseason, but I can truly see him being, a top 4, conservatively fourth jungler. I see Santorin, Closer, and Blabber probably being just ahead of him. Maybe Svenskeren. But that's okay. I can still see him. I could see him pushing for a first or second or third. That's absolutely not out of the realm of possibility for Spica's talent. I mean, he was 18 years old last year, playing in his first split on a team that had such high expectations. I know all TSM teams do, but especially with Bjergsen and Doublelift there, like, oh man. It's going to be, incumbent on him, on Spica, to make sure that he grows a lot in terms of his communication and make sure that he is, talking, really understanding the point of the comp, especially with his role. And, luckily, I think, again, having Bjergsen as the head coach is going to help him immensely. So, yeah, he'll be great. Power of Evil is going to be top 3. I would argue top 2, potentially. I know that Jensen is, it's going to be close between Jensen and Power of Evil. Like, it just straight up will be. But, when you look at it statistically, guys, and I know that, that TL plays kind of a passive style, but, like, there's a small chance that Power of Evil's better, and, it's going to be tough. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, the jungle matchup of Santorin and Jensen versus Spica and Power of Evil is going to be one to watch. I can't wait to see that. Lost is a different story. We heard Benjamin last week rank him, near the top. I am not as convinced, but I could be. I still see, Tactical's probably up there. Well, not probably. Tactical's up there. FBI's up there. I still see Johnson up there. Sven's up there, obviously, right? But I think Lost, again, could slot into that 4th, 5th spot. I think his ceiling could be maybe another FBI type run. That would be awesome. And then Sword Art, there's a chance that Sword Art is the second best support in the league. Right behind Core JJ. He could pass Core JJ too. I mean, it's possible. But it's going to be tough. I mean, again, like, he's going to be looking at maybe 4th or 5th at his bottom tier, and that would be, behind the likes of Vulcan, Core JJ, Ignar, and Huhi. If Huhi continues his just insane run. So, yeah, I mean, there is a lot going on here, and I'm very hopeful for this team. I think at a minimum we could look at, maybe 4th or 5th in this first season. I think they can definitely push for a world spot. I don't know about an LCS championship, but that's neither here nor there. We'll head into the next part. Again, I will dive more into the rankings and stuff in other episodes. I can't do it all in one episode. Then there's nothing to talk about for the rest of the offseason. So be patient. Or if you really want it sooner rather than later, let me know in the comment sections, wherever you can find them. I real quickly want to touch on, and this is, again, going to be a little bit of a longer episode. I'm sorry. There's just so much to go over right now. with everything that's been happening. I anticipate 35 to 45 minutes. I'm still trying to keep it as close to 30 as possible. Although if you guys want longer episodes, as I said at the beginning, let me know. Is this the best roster that TSM could have put together? Obviously, no, it's not the best roster. In an ideal world, would we have loved to have seen, a roster of, I don't know, Licorice, Spica, Perks, Double Lift, and Sword Art? Sure, that's probably the best roster that we could have hoped for. But when we look at it realistically, it seemed like Licorice was a package deal with Palafox and Diamond. That was really what Jack wanted. FlyQuest were one of the only teams willing to / able to make that deal. They did, right? So that takes Licorice off the table. When you look at the rest of the options, I think Huni might be the highest upside. He may not have the highest floor. His floors might be a little bit lower than some others. But when looking at NA options, this is kind of the best we could have hoped for, truthfully. Especially once Licorice was gone, and it seemed like Impact was pretty deep into / wanting to go to Evil Geniuses. So I don't really know if we could have stopped that. Spica's great jungler. He's young. I mean, investing in young NA talent, go for it. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I hope that they keep him for a long time. I can't wait till I get to talk about Spica for a whole episode, because I think there's just so many things to go over with Spica. Power of Evil, I think, outside of Perks, is by far and away the best option they could have had. Love that pickup. We'll talk a little bit more about whether or not he's going to stay later. Then, Lost, sure, Double Lift will probably have been a better decision or a better choice. I'm a little upset that they couldn't figure out a way to keep him, especially if he was really wanting Sword Art. Then they finally get Sword Art, and yet he still retires. Feels like there might have been a small falling out there. But, I'm not going to. Apparently, Dom had some stuff to say about this. I don't personally watch shows with Thorin in them. But, I tried to keep up with them, and apparently there was some interesting stuff on Double Lift. I just don't, I don't want to get into those rumors currently. I just don't, especially with him retiring, I just don't see it, being worth it. But, I think when you look at it, sure, Johnson would have been great. FBI would have been great, but it looked like FBI was just going with the rest of his team. No surprises there. They probably could have tried for Johnson, to be honest, but I think Lost could be better than Johnson, which is saying a lot because I thought Johnson was great last year, especially on the team that he had. Like, holy crap, him and Aframu, like, seriously, were solid, comparatively. So, and then Sword Art, there's a chance that Sword Art could be the best support in NA, in the LCS. So, is this the best team they could have put together? No. Did they still do a pretty damn good job? Absolutely. We should take it. We should be as happy and patient, again, I will preach patience, as possible with this team and support them. If they struggle a little bit at the beginning, that's fine. If they get into a prolonged slump and they're hovering around the 7th, 8th spot, then we'll have some pretty serious stuff to talk about. But, if they're finishing the first half and they're kind of hovering around 4th or 5th, that's fine. Seriously, that's okay. We want them to push for at least 3rd in this first season with everything being redone. Again, I am reminding you, literally, the only things that are not changing about this team are Spica and Reggie. That is it. I think Mabry's gone. If I remember correctly, Parth is going to be full-time GM instead of GM and coach. Bjergsen's coach now. Double Lift's gone. Broken Blade's gone. Biofrost is gone. We don't know where the heck he's going yet. Or maybe we do. I might have missed that part in the stream. I haven't seen anything official yet. But yeah. Everything's changing, fam. Hopefully for the better. Heading into topic 2. Sword, the guy everybody is so hyped for, was officially announced as the starting academy mid laner. Which, touching on that, I will tell you, I have not studied much on Sword. Although, what I have seen and studied, the kid is insane. And there is no doubt about that. And, I want everybody to, again, temper expectations. The kid is, pretty young. He's just turned 18. So it's the first time he's able to, really get to play. Babip joined too, which adds, that's a nice solid young, or not young, but just solid jungle option from the OPL. He's, played on Legacy, on Mammoth, on Chiefs. All these teams have gone to Worlds. He's, I think, gone to Worlds like 2 or 3 times now. So he's a solid player. And I actually think they have him truly as an option in case if Spica struggles for some reason. If some unexpected thing happens and he is just not doing what he's supposed to, I think Babip was probably the best option for jungler from the OPL. Probably one of the best options out there in general. And, if they really needed to slot him in, I think he'd be okay. So, yeah. I like it. And I really like Sword. This kid has the chance to be an absolute stud. They need to give him probably a full season at least. But that leads me into, where is Evolved? What the heck? I don't understand. He's only a year older than Sword. He's got the stats to prove it. He's a solid young player. I don't understand why in the world what are they doing? Is he switching positions or something? I have been a big fan of Evolved since he was in Scouting Grounds. I really, really, really liked him. I thought he has so much potential. He was he was up there with Palafox, Saligo, Blaze Olive, some of these guys who are getting LCS chances. And I know that they have been around. They've done the dance, so they might be a little bit better once it comes down to it. But, God, guys, this kid had evolved. Palafox was the only person to finish with more kills. He, out of all the players to get starting time, regular starting time, Saligo was the only one to die less. Again, using Oracle's elixir, by the way. And his kill share was the third highest, behind PoE'S and Tuesday. His death percentage, again, was pretty low, only 18%. I know his laning stats weren't great. He was much better in team fights. And maybe that's the reason why, is they like Sword Art's 1v1 better. But you got to remember, Evolved was literally a Cat 1 trick. And he changed himself into something so much better. This year he didn't play Cat once. Not once. He had great stats on Syndra, Zoe, Azir, Victor, Cassiopeia. He even played a Soraka mid, for God's sakes. Orianna was solid. His Corki was okay. He had I'm looking at everything, and I'm just so confused. This kid, I thought was the future. And, I get that Sword can be maybe as good or better than him. I totally understand that. But, losing this kind of talent is why, it's just frustrating. It's just a little frustrating, to be honest, because, a Blaze Olive and Palafox. Maybe Palafox never played for TSM Academy, but I know a Blaze Olive did. And I understand why, they never could really play him. It's because, he, was behind Bjergsen. So I understand it. It feels like the Tom Brady thing for those of you who are traditional sports fans, all these backup quarterbacks behind him, supposed to eventually supplant him, but then they end up going to another team. Blaze Olive may end up being that player, and he may end up being great. Who knows? But I know Evolved has talent, and I'm telling you, if Sword doesn't work out and they let Evolved go and he pops off, we're going to be sitting here regretting it like we're regretting letting Broken Blade walk. Just, I don't know, guys. I don't understand the logic. When they're probably going to have 3 teams, you can allow Sword another full year of development. You can give Evolved another full year to really understand which one of them's better. Maybe they're going to keep both, though. Now, I will say that. There is a chance they keep both and they split time. And then they just say, listen, guys, here's the deal. We have Power of Evil for 2 years, but it's possible he's only going to stay for 1. You two are going to battle it out, and we're going to see who comes out at the end. A little healthy competition, a little healthy rivalry. There are a lot of teams that do platooning. In baseball, that's what it's called. I don't really know that these players are necessarily different than each other. But, I mean, I don't know. I think Evolved is a really solid talent for NA. I just hope this team isn't giving up on him. That's all. Like, I really don't want them to stop trying, to make this kid into, the potential, like, true replacement for Bjergsen. Like, he really could be that, guys. He could be. It looks like Sword plays similar champions, to Evolved, so maybe that's why. And I'm looking at this kid's stats. I mean, he's a stud. Don't get me wrong. And I have seen some highlight videos and stuff of him. He, has plenty of talent. There's no doubt about that. And it sucks because it's like TSM has a plethora of talent in a position that it signed Power of Evil, who is also extremely talented for. So what would have been great is if, I guess it wouldn't have been great, but would have been an interesting scenario is if Evolved would have moved up to the LCS and they had Sword in Academy, and then they really let them battle it out. Really tested them. But we'll see. There's still no word on Evolved. Everything on his Twitter still says TSM. Maybe they're going to split duties. I don't know if it would be the first time or not, but I'll have to ask. It looks like Sword played with my buddy Doubtful. He was the jungler for the T1 2018 series. I'll have to see what he thinks about him. I'll reach out to him, see what he says. Oh, wow, he's played with him. Yeah, he played with him twice, it looks like, even. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Anywho, we'll move on to the last segment here. And this is one that I touched on in a piece that I think a lot of you liked if you read it on Reddit, where I talked about Power of Evil kind of breaking his streak of 1-year deals. For those of you who don't know, since Power of Evil came up with Unicorns of Love, he has had a brand new team every single year. Now, let me see if I can do this off the top of my head. I believe it was Unicorns of Love that changed into Ninjas in Pajamas, then Origin, Misfits, Optic, CLG, FlyQuest, and now TSM. Yeah, that's 7 years. He's been playing for 7 years. So, according to the league database, the contract database, which is open and available to everybody, he is signed for 2 years through the 2022 season, I believe. And, it will be interesting to see if he breaks his streak, right? If he is able to end it, and if he wants to, right? Like, and this is, by the way, from everything that I've ever read or heard, this is not a power of evil thing. I know it sounds really stupid, but like it's not something that he has personally done. And actually, I'm now seeing this. It looks like Huni is signed through 2022 as well. Huh, that's interesting. And then Sword is signed through 2023. I don't think they're getting rid of him anytime soon. Anyways, Power of Evil, again, signed for 2 years. I think if he performs well, and even if the team struggles, I think he will stay. I don't know why teams have let him go, or what the situations are. It looks like, I think he would have stayed with FlyQuest had things not kind of divulged the way they did. I think he probably wanted out of CLG because he was carrying that team pretty hard. And I think Optic, was a bad situation. This will be like TSM will be the most established brand and org he has ever played for. Unicorns of Love was brand new when he came up with them. Ninjas in Pajamas, brand new. Literally was like the first person on that roster. Misfits, basically brand new. I think that was like 2016. 2017 with Origin. Not a brand new org, but was, I think, coming back for the first time or was nearing its end. I can't remember. There's a lot of mix-up with the LEC. Optic, very first time on that team. CLG was a big brand, isn't anymore. FlyQuest, still a relatively new brand and one that had struggled with its branding, and then last year it found itself. He was part of that. This year, TSM, most established brand he's ever been with, biggest org in terms of money and everything else that he has ever been with. And I think he'll break that streak. I think this will be the first team that he plays on for more than 1 year. I don't know if TSM, it's going to be interesting to see if they keep him or not. If Sword or Evolved are just popping off, I don't know. Maybe they consider taking him out. I doubt it. But, that's something to talk about next offseason, or maybe even during the middle of the season if TSM are struggling. But, Power of Evil is on TSM. He is signed through 2022. I think they have a true chance of breaking his streak and giving him a home. And if he really ends up just killing it, let's say that he's somehow able to take over even Perks as the top mid in the LCS by some random occurrence. And this is no insult on Power of Evil, by the way. I mean, by the way, PoE, if you're listening, you and I have talked before. Like, I've been a big fan of yours since your days with Unicorns of Love. I've always thought you were super underrated, and I think you're still being underrated right now. That's why I could totally see him, / you, if you're listening, being better than Jensen. By the way, I don't expect any of the TSM players listen to this. Talk shows are not normally a good thing for athletes or, esports athletes to listen to. So, sometimes they do, but I digress. Yeah, I hope they do. I really do. Because I think he's going to be solid for this team. I think he's going to be a rock. I think he's going to be able to help Spica grow. I think Bjergsen is going to be a really solid coach, and I think he's going to be able to bring out the best in these guys. Like, I listen, when I look at this team as a whole, I see good individual talents across the board. I've told you guys where I'm kind of ranking them currently. But I think that with a good or great head coach, you are able to push those players higher. And so I really hope that we see them all perform even better than our expectations. I really hope that no matter what, by the end of 2021, we're excited for a 2022 team. We're hopeful that they all stay together. As a reminder, age-wise, we're in a pretty good spot. Huni is 22. 22, by the way. Crazy to think that, to be honest. Spica is still only 18. Power of Evil is 23. Lost is 21, I believe. And Sword Art is 23. So, technically a little bit on the older end in terms of esports, in terms of LCS. But they're all either going into or technically should be in their prime, at least for the next 2 years. And I'm going to be excited for this team. I am. I want them to prove me wrong and everybody else wrong. I want them to beat Cloud9. I want them to beat Team Liquid. And I don't want them to just do it once, or I don't want them to just do it on a fluke. I want them to do it consistently. I don't know if they will, but I'm extremely hopeful that they will. And I think they can. It's going to take a lot of work, but I think they can do it. Anyway, if you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, hit the bell icon so you don't miss another episode. For the YouTube comments, let me know specifically, where do you rank this team currently? Do you have them behind C9 and TL? Do you have them above? Do you have them lower than them? You can't have them much higher than T9 or CL because that would put them in first. So, yes, that is the challenge for the day. Go comment below. Where do you rank TSM? And I want to try to do this more often, by the way. I want to give you guys a chance to engage. I don't want to just be me talking at you. So let me know your thoughts. Where is TSM ranked today with a roster of Huni, Spica, Power of Evil, Lost, and Sword Art? Also, I want to make this the #1 TSM podcast on all podcasting platforms. So if you feel so inclined, please leave a positive review, especially if you are listening on Apple Podcasts. That would be extremely appreciated by myself and the TGH crew. Lastly, please share this with your friends, especially if they're LCS fans. I would love to hear even from people outside of the TSM world. You can find the official tweet, if you're on Twitter specifically, on either my account at TGH Robert Haynes or the Gamehouse's Twitter account at TGH Esports. When you guys are talking about the show or when you are retweeting it, please use the hashtag TalkingTSM. I will be searching for them so that hopefully I can connect with you guys. I'll give you guys some follows, some likes, retweets, all that jazz. Like, I want to engage. I want to build a really fun and engaging community for everybody. And with that, thanks for tuning in. This show is out on Thursdays and exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See you next week.